Well, we're back and we are live at the National Right to Life Conference, and I am again have the pleasure of sitting with Father Frank Pavone, a priest for life. And I got to ask you again, how many visitors a day to your site?
Our website, priestsforlife.org, is 35,000 visitors on the average every day.
35,000 visitors. I can't believe it. That's so amazing, and we're going to put that on the screen too, because you have so many wonderful resources. You have videos, and you've got everything. You've got a blog, you've got radio, you've got TV clips, everything, and of course your videos are amazing. And we didn't even get into the "Is this what you mean by abortion?" campaign, which was absolutely unbelievable for changing hearts, and I do want to get into that, but I have to ask you, yesterday we didn't have time to hear the story of, in your bio it said, you met with Mother Teresa and Pope John Paul II. And if you could, which one, I don't know which one you want to start with, but I have to hear how this happened.
Yes.
And what was said.
Well, I met them, I knew them both, and I had multiple contacts with them over the course of several years. Mother Teresa, let's talk about her first. We contacted her in 1993, was when I first became director of Priests for Life, because in August of 1993, was World Youth Day in Denver, Colorado, when John Paul II came. And the connection with that is that we had decided, in conjunction with a Youth for Life group, that we should do a one-year reunion of the young people that gathered there. So that would be there for the summer of '94. So we thought that a great draw would be if we could get Mother Teresa to be there. Now, she couldn't actually come, but we ended up having her on by telephone hookup. But in order to extend the invitation to her, we said, well, rather than write her a letter, let's go visit her in person in Calcutta. Yeah, and extend her the invitation that way. So we actually went. 3 of us went. And
from Priests for Life?
Yes. Well, there was 2 of us from Priests for Life and 1 representative of Youth for Life. And we went to Calcutta. It was an amazing time because we spent a whole week with her. And she and I chatted a lot about the pro-life movement, about pro-life strategy, about Priests for Life. She was very happy to hear that there was a Priests for Life. In fact, she wrote us a beautiful letter that we have on our website saying, you know, I want all the priests and deacons to join this movement because we have to stop this war against the unborn children. So she was very happy to hear about all that. And then she was taking us around the city to the different institutions and houses that they have, the Sisters of Charity there in Calcutta. We saw amazing things. One of the houses, for example, was for prostitutes. She just brings these women off the streets. And as we were going around, she was showing us their rooms where they stay. And I remember her going into on the bed there were these blankets, and she lifted them up and she said, Father, look. She said, these women themselves made these with their own hands. Look how good they are. And what struck me was, here we were talking about prostitutes off the street. Yeah. Many people would look at them and the first reaction they would have is, oh, they're evil. They're doing wrong. Well, of course what they're doing is wrong. Right. But Mother Teresa was able to say, look at the good that they did. They made these blankets. She always saw the goodness of whoever the person was, no matter what kind of sinner they were. She saw the goodness. And then, of course, that enabled her to pick up the sick and the dying, you know, from the streets. And she just saw through what might be so repulsive to other people that they wouldn't want to get near the person. What she saw first was the person. And the goodness of the person drew her in.
Was she speaking English?
Oh, yes. Her English was very good, yeah. Oh,
and did you have to get permission ahead of time to go? I mean, could someone...
Well, believe it or not, we just decided to go visit her. And when we went to make the appointment, we called the number of the mother house there in Calcutta, and she answered the phone.
No. This is the best part.
I mean,
answered the phone.
Believe it or not,
public published number.
Any of our viewers listening to us right now could have, if they had that number, they could have dialed the telephone from their own house and gotten Mother Teresa at the other end of the line. They wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't believe it. And you know what I did? We had at this time, again, I was just starting off with Priests for Life, so we had just one full-time employee at that time. Now we have 60, but then we had just one. So we were at morning mass, and as we went back to our office, I said, oh, I have to make a special phone call. Now we have to call Mother Teresa. And she was like, oh my goodness, I don't believe it. You're going to call Mother Teresa. So she said, can I be in the office when you call? I said, yeah, sure. So it was, you know, a relatively small office. So she was at her desk on the other side, and of course she's working at a desk, but she's listening. And I'm on the phone with Mother Teresa. Then when I got to the end of the phone call, I said, oh, and Mother Teresa, one more thing. There's somebody here in my office who would very much like to say hello to you. And this woman flew across the room.
Was it Margaret?
No, it wasn't. No, and flew across the room to get on the phone to say hi to Mother Teresa.
That's
so
hilarious.
yeah, so we and then we kept in touch with her. And this was in '94, so she would only live 3 more years because she died in September of '97. So we kept in touch with her, and as I say, we talked a lot about pro-life strategy.
Well, that was so needed. Was that before the prayer breakfast she did?
No, that's the other thing I was about to tell you. It happened. I visited her in June of '94. That prayer breakfast speech was February of '94, so it was just a few months later. And so when I got,
timing, wasn't it?
Well, I told her, I said, Mother Teresa, that prayer breakfast speech, many of the American people really loved what you had to say. And she said, many. What about the rest? So she said, wait 1 second, and she went in another room and she came back with a typewritten copy of the speech. Now I don't know if it was the very same one she was reading from that day, but she gave it to me, and she said, please distribute this to all of the rest of the American people. So we took that as a, you know, a special mission from Mother Teresa, and to this day, Priest for Life makes available free of charge a nice little printout of that speech.
Is it on your website?
It's also on the website.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that story.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable that you actually got her to take you around. But what did she say about her hopes for the United States? Did she say, she called us rich and poor at the same time?
Yes, yes. Well, for her, and she said it in that prayer breakfast speech, and she also said it in her Nobel Prize acceptance speech. She said, there is one greatest destroyer of love and peace, and that is abortion. Now, a lot of people don't, you know, here she was, you know, the social justice advocates who sometimes will, of course, we're all for social justice in the Catholic faith, but those who will sometimes try to separate social justice from pro-life and abortion, right? You know, they'll praise Mother Teresa for what she did for the poor and so forth, but they don't understand this point that she was making, that the greatest destroyer of love and peace is abortion. Why? Because love, whether you're expressing it by tending to the sick or feeding the hungry or housing the homeless, means I'm sacrificing myself for the good of the other person. Now think about abortion for a minute. It's just the opposite. I'm sacrificing the other person for the good of myself. So that abortion dynamic destroys the very essence of love. So you can't claim that, oh, well, I care for the poor, but I'm willing to kill their children. I care for the homeless, but I can't give a home to the unborn. I'll feed the hungry, but I can't feed these unborn children. They don't see and some people don't see the contradiction. But for Mother Teresa, this was essential to grasp this. She said, ultimately, she said, the fruit of abortion, where it really leads to, is nuclear war. Because if we destroy that foundation that says the other is the one that demands our respect and our service, not our manipulation, domination, or decision to exclude them. If we think we can decide the choice to eliminate the child, then we have claimed the authority to eliminate anybody we want. And that's why she said the fruit of abortion is nuclear war.
Anybody in our way.
Anyone in our way at all, on a personal, state, or worldwide level.
At any age.
Exactly.
Yeah, it paves the way, of course. And that's, again, not talked about. Oh, that's a beautiful story. I mean, pick up the phone and call or what?
Oh, amazing. I mean, another thing she told, you know, what happened also in that interval just before I went there, President Clinton signed the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances bill, the FACE law. Which meant this, that you could not and still cannot peacefully blockade the door to an abortion facility.
Which is not the same thing, say, for someone protesting another kind of business?
That's right, and that's why some really think this law is unconstitutional, that, you know, you can be, and we're not talking here about violence. There's already laws against violence. We're not talking about that.
Right.
We're not talking about destroying property or hitting people. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about, I'm going to sit down in front of this door to this building so that nobody can get in or out. And which you do, and you can protest animal experimentation.
The fur shops got closed down because people couldn't get in the front door.
That's right.
Town.
Now, the absurdity of this law is that suppose animal experimentation and abortions are taking place in the same building. So you have two people sitting in front of the door, but they're sitting there for different reasons.
Yes.
One wants to save the animals, one wants to save the babies. Under this ridiculous face law, the guy sitting there who wants to save the babies is committing a bigger crime than the one who's sitting there. But for the same behavior.
For the same behavior.
The law is supposed to govern behavior, not beliefs. And these people are sitting there, they may have different beliefs, but the behavior is the same. They're just peacefully blocking the door. They say, okay, you want me to move? I'm not going to move. You're going to have to carry me away.
Right.
All right. So anyway, I explained this to Mother Teresa. I said, you know, President Clinton just signed this law. And you know what she said?
What?
If we had that law here in India, I would be arrested many times. Because I go to the places where these women are having the abortions, and I take them by the arm, and I say, come with me, and come with our sisters, because we will help you and your baby. She said she did that. She went, and abortion was very real to her. These babies were very real. And I think that's a key part of the solution to this whole problem. We've got to get it out of the abstract realm of just an issue. You know, the last thing that people who defend abortion want to talk about is abortion.
It's so true. No, how do you respond to them, the actual people voting for abortion, pushing abortion on us, saying, well, nobody likes abortion? I hear this from them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. If they don't like if they think it's fine, why don't they like it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's a question they can't answer.
No, they can't. They can't, because they're conflicted within themselves. They realize this is indefensible. And so they're not going to try to come across as saying it's a good thing. Although some extremists will say even that. They'll say abortion is a blessing, is a good thing.
Peter Singer's out there.
Yeah. But so they'll say, well, yeah, we know it's wrong. But they fall into this kind of despair mentality, like, well, you know, what are you going to do? It has to happen. Well, no, it doesn't. Slavery doesn't have to happen. Nuclear holocaust, terrorism, that doesn't have to happen.
It's like a root canal. Nobody wants one, but we're sure glad it's available.
Oh, yeah, because they think it's going to provide some benefit. And this is an interesting thing about the abortion procedure, although it's the most common medical procedure in America, it has no medical benefit.
Ooh.
Right? You ever think of that? What exactly... I mean, anytime a doctor does a medical procedure, it's supposed to be because it has some benefit to the patient. What exactly is the medical benefit of the abortion procedure? There is none. Usually a medical procedure is trying to help the body to do something that it's supposed to do, is having problem doing.
Or fight an infection or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, with abortion, the body's already doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's doing it very well, and people are seeing that as the problem. They're seeing that the problem is this body is nourishing the body of that baby, and you know what? It's doing it all too well, and we can't deal with the consequences, so we're going to go in and do this procedure. But it's not a medical procedure.